So in the previous video that I have made, I was talking about interbeing, which is not Han's word for our relations, our relationship between the self and the other, and all those relationships and the life therein. In my opinion, given a certain prescription of ethics, given a certain ethical prescription of what our obligations are to the other, what would follow, in my opinion, is some kind of political structure, a structure of how the world should be governed, a structure based on this, some kind of structure, political structure, which is based on this prescription that we have grounded and laid out. Like I said in the previous video, I would be using this book as to how I would lay all that out. I would pretty much be using this book and being in time as to how I would be as to how I would be explaining this the world between myself and the other and everything around it, using notions like design and being in the world with Heidegger in this book, as well as in Being in Time. But and then I said that the ethical obligations, explaining what the self's obligation to the other is, would be pretty much laid out in this book. I think something that would follow that, given all this, there would be something that should follow that. I would think. Following that, would be this on a much larger scale than in a smaller kind of tight-knit community. Something on a much larger scale, in a government kind of state, not maybe even in just like a little state, but maybe even in a whole nation. And this brings me to what is discussed by the Stoics, Kant, Emmanuel Levinas, and Jacques Derrida. This idea of cosmopolitanism. Cosmopolitanism is this idea of a global political state, but it's not like a whole nation, not a single world order kind of thing. With this, we get the sociologist Ulrich Beck, which is pretty much the way he pretty much explains the details of such a thing. Excuse me. But pretty much what the question is this would be pretty much a government which is a global economy, not a nation state, not like a nation state world, not a single world order, because like one nation among the whole world would be like hegemonic and stuff like that. But I'm talking like one global political economy, where we would have one world which would be of various political economies. And I guess cosmopolitanism is the closest thing that would kind of come to this. But I guess I don't really want to discuss this idea of cosmopolitanism in itself. I kind of want to discuss what would follow a phenomenological ethics of the self and the other in this interbeing. What would follow this in a political structure? What would follow it in a political structure would be something that would involve a kind of community where we understand each other, I guess. Some kind of community where it's not Because I guess the way I see the world is the way that, Simone de Beauvoir and Albert Camus understand the world, as to where there's humans who are hit in the face with this kind of absurdity of the world, and they don't accept it, but they kind of just do their own thing, and they do what they think that they should be doing, and live for themselves, I guess. Camus and de Beauvoir will not, say that they're greedy and that they live for themselves, but in my opinion, that the common person's solution to being hit in the face with this absurdity, or de Beauvoir's term, ambiguity, would be to do what you think you should be doing. Live for yourself right now. This is really absurd, and this sucks. I don't really understand any of this. Let's just live for me right now. That, in my opinion, is the reaction to this absurdity. Often the reaction is suicide, because it's not worth living. But the reaction that Camus says and de Beauvoir says is that we have to accept it. Otherwise, you're not being authentic. So pretty much what would follow here from something, some kind of ethical prescription, which would create this tight-knit community like this, where everybody's executing this kind of prescription, some kind of virtuous prescription, would be not a community which would be on a nation level, or at best a nation level, because it would be very hard for it to be on a global level. A nation level, and possibly multinational level, to where there is most people along the nation or nations doing this. We have this nation community kind of thing, where everybody understands each other. There's this community-wide intersubjective understanding of each other, to where I understand you and everything that you have going on with you. We all are connected by our mortality and our vulnerability because of our mortality, and I understand that for myself, and I see that in you, and I see that we have this in common, and that's how we get this pairing to where we get this tight-knit, intersubjectively understanding community. Excuse me. And this idea of mortality and vulnerability what would connect the whole thing. And different feelings would make smaller circles, or smaller groups, or smaller communities, but that would be the basic idea. And pretty much what would follow this on a political, social level would involve this community being so big, where this encompasses a whole state or a whole nation, to where the people who are elected to govern, who are elected to lead, who are elected to make laws, who are elected to check and make sure that if these laws are effective and constitutional and such, would be people who are part of this, and who are for the people, who are for the other. This will be my idea. And now, if you don't understand what I'm really talking about, go back to the video where I talk about, where I just have this kind of, it's kind of a ramble, but it's, I think I accomplished what I was trying to there. It's a video called Interbeing. I think that's what I'm going to call it. I haven't really posted it yet, but it's called something about interbeing. So I'll put it down here. so that you can go to it. Sorry, I have a cold. Summer cold. They suck. So pretty much this is what I would be getting at, like following this thing, which would in Australian terms we would have this associative pairing where the monads mirror themselves. We have this intermonadic community, and we get these large intersubjective understanding communities where we all understand each other, and it gets so big that we have a whole nation or a whole state, maybe, to where those who are elected to lead, to make laws, to govern, are those who are part of this big intersubjectively understanding community, and these people who are elected to govern and to lead and to check the laws and to make the laws are those who are for the people, who are for, not for just some interest group, but they're not for some party, but they're for the well-being of the people. They're for the other. They're for the good of everybody, not just one specific group or one. Because like even the Democratic Party or even the Republican Party, every party is even though it's a big group of people, we're talking about one group of people that they are making laws and they're doing things for. Where it actually happens to where these laws that these Republicans or these Democrats make are going to apply not just to Democrats, but they're going to apply to Republicans and Libertarians and Independents and all of these people who didn't even elect them. So these people that would would follow such a ethical prescription, which would make a such intersubjective understanding community of empathy, these communities could possibly get so big that they would encompass states or nations, to where those who are elected, or to those who are elected to make laws and to lead and to govern, and to make big decisions, be those who are for nobody else but for the well-being of everyone, for the other, for the community, for everybody, and nothing else. Not for any one group, not for the Republicans, not for the Democrats, not for the Libertarians, not for the Independents, just for everybody, so that everybody can benefit from this, so that it will be good for everybody. Now, this would be a very hard thing to do for one leader. It would be very difficult. 13 minutes. Okay. It would be very, very difficult. But the community the community encompassing a whole state would not elect this person if it did not believe that if this person is the best for it. And this would also be the destruction of all kinds of political divisions. And even George Washington even said, these parties are going to be more of a burden to you than a help. And they are, I think. I mean, I don't see how it's helpful to any of us to have two parties who are dominant, and how if we had a third or fourth party, it might be a little bit better. There might be more, going on. Like I believe in Russia, there's tons of parties in elections, but here it's just, we do have libertarians and independents, but the Republicans and the Democrats are the two dominating parties, and nothing gets beyond that. So that's my little rant on that. Tell me what you think. Tell me if this is. Let me know if this is possible. I think it is, but it's kind of a long way off. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on this, and let me know if you think it's even a good idea or not.